There's been talk in realignment about North Carolina. Boy, the performance of their football team, but on the field screams, send me to the Big Ten and play some ugly football. 19-17. Vegas is so hilarious. This game was Minnesota -2.5. North Carolina closes a -1.5 point favorite. And what do you know? They win by 2 points. They win by 2 points. How does Vegas do it? I don't know. I don't know how they do it sometimes. But that's a sweaty cover. Now, Minnesota had a 47-yard field goal to win the game, and boom, they missed. Kickers were mostly really good in this one, but they missed. Well, Noah Burnett was better than Dragon Kessick for Minnesota, who missed 2 field goals in the game, which is unfortunate when you lose by 2 points, to be sure, and spoiled my prediction of Minnesota winning the game. No one actually won here. I know North Carolina is 1-0. Whoop-dee for now. You feel for Max Johnson, who's been a journeyman in college football, LSU, Texas A&M, now North Carolina. They had to go to the backup after he got injured. But allow me to read you his numbers for anyone who was not on board with my Max Johnson is not that good take. 12-19, 71 yards and a pick. It's not great. It's not great. And that's just kind of what he's been. Did I want to see him get injured? No, of course not. Of course not. It sucks for the kid. And Connor Harrell is now going to take over for North Carolina. We'll see how that goes for the Tar Heels this season. That's one way they lost. But the second way is you went to your workhorse. I talked about the running backs going into this game. Minnesota's star running back, unfortunately, was not able to go. And their ground game struggled a little bit as a result. But North Carolina, the same cannot be said. Though it wasn't an incredibly efficient night, Amarian Hampton, 30 carries, 129 yards. So that's what I know about North Carolina. They're good at the running back position. But do they have anything else? I mean, I know North Carolina's on the road here. Winning on the road in college football is a tremendously difficult thing to do. Let me read you the numbers on the other side. Props to the North Carolina defense. We've got a new staff over there. And they've got a new offensive line, too, which didn't look particularly strong in this game. But I said going into it, I feel like the winner's going to be whoever gets more out of the quarterback position. Well, that turned out to not be true because Mac Brosmer, the FCS transfer to Minnesota, 13-21, 166 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. And that was the better quarterback stat line. North Carolina quarterbacks, 14-23, 105 yards and interception, and yet they win the football game. I have news for you, North Carolina. That's not going to win you very many football games. Minnesota could be in for a long year in the Big Ten if they can't put up 20 points at home. But North Carolina plays Charlotte and North Carolina Central and James Madison. It's a favorable schedule. I'm telling you right now, barring a massive change in play style and output and production, I'm picking them to lose at Duke with Manny Diaz, and Malik Murphy on September 28th. Pitt, Georgia Tech, they have 5 of their next 6 games at home. That's the good news. They could very easily lose at least 2 of the first 3 should be gimmies because you're playing non-power 4 teams. Watch out for James Madison, though, coming out of the Sun Belt. Duke, Pitt, Georgia Tech, at Virginia, at Florida State, at Boston College, NC State. It's not a brutal schedule. And I do not have high hopes for the Tar Heels. I was down on North Carolina coming into the year for a variety of reasons. Quarterback, head coach, recruiting last few years had taken a dip from what it once was under Mac Brown, and they didn't show me anything. The question I asked going into this game, can either of these teams showcase some juice? Can either of these teams put a product on the field that excites anybody, that shows they're more than what they are? No, they didn't show that in week 1. It's a long season. You can dub this a week 1 overreaction. You do it every year. But when I've got concerns about a team or a program coming into a year, those are essentially one and the same, but you get what I'm saying. And then those concerns play out very quickly and have the potential to actually get worse as the year goes on. Heck, North Carolina should watch out for James Madison when they come to Chapel Hill in a few weeks. You got a couple of easy games, and then you better have your A game starting to get Dukes, or they will bring it to you. But this was an ugly Big Ten-inspired football game. I'll get to Minnesota in just a moment, but North Carolina, you had the chance to showcase, hey, well, I mean, at least they won the game. Might be down your starting quarterback for a while. And if the backup wasn't able to beat out the starter, who before the injury was utterly unimpressive, I don't know. Maybe, I'm just saying maybe Connor Harrell surprises everybody and goes on a run, the likes of which nobody is expecting. But wasn't impressed. I'm impressed with the kicker. That's it. 4 of 4 with a long of 52 for Noah Burnett, MVP of the game, undoubtedly for the Tar Heels. If he's your MVP after any game, not going to be a fun year. So don't expect North Carolina to do anything special. And then on the other side, Minnesota, look, it's a fat L to set off fireworks after you miss a potential game-winning field goal. Max Brosmer didn't have a great game, but that final drive, getting them down into position to kick a game-winning field goal, is pretty good stuff. That's pretty good stuff, but it hurts to lose the game. At this point, PJ Fleck is in the wins and losses category in terms of defining success. There are no moral victories. He's been there for too long and showcased what he is capable of building as a head coach of a Big Ten program. And yeah, that wasn't exactly how you want to start the season if you're the Golden Gophers. So for Minnesota going forward, their schedule looks like this: Rhode Island, Nevada. All right, you'll have a couple of wins, 2-1 with a close loss going into Big Ten play. SpaghettiOs. That's a brutal first half of Big Ten conference play. Iowa at home, number 25 team in the country preseason. At Michigan, good luck. Hosting USC, you cannot score as many points as them. At UCLA, you could win that game. You could also lose it because it's a long trip and you haven't really been there before because Minnesota hasn't been to a Rose Bowl in a hot second. But down on UCLA, that's going to be an interesting game. And then it lightens up. Maryland at Illinois, at Rutgers, host Penn State, at Wisconsin. Is Minnesota going to make a bowl game? Is PJ Fleck going to be on the hot seat by the time this year comes to a close? I can see it. With this schedule, you could very easily, with the North Carolina loss already on the resume, there is a world in which they have got at least 5 more losses on the schedule. And you'd have to play perfectly against UCLA, Maryland, Illinois, and Rutgers and not stumble against Nevada or Rhode Island. And, Nevada showed something in week 1. I hope you can win that football game at home. You best start figuring out, PJ Fleck, or the hot seat chatter could start to intensify rather quickly.